Free agency is basically over, so it's time to grade Ryan Poles' signings and trades that he made during free agency of 2025. Now, before I begin with the video, guys, summer is coming up pretty soon. It's going to be hot and humid before you know it, okay? Those long summer months of Chicago can get pretty hot, and if you're out in the sun, you know, it can get you smelling pretty bad. So if you guys want to be smelling good this summer, I'd highly recommend using Mando Whole Body Deodorant, the sponsor of today's video. From the founders of Lumi, Mando Whole Body Deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid, Mando has long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it starts. Best part is you can put Mando everywhere. Your pits, your packages, your feet, your back, knees, everywhere, your entire body. To top it off, Mando's cologne quality scents were created with men in mind. Pro tip, try their best-selling scent, Bourbon Leather. It's a game changer. And guys, Mando was actually nice enough to send me a lot of product. They sent me a variety of different items that they sell. They got me some deodorant wipes as well. And using some of these over the past couple weeks, I can tell you guys from experience, this stuff does work, okay? It gets you smelling very well, even if you're out, you know, in the gym working out, or if you're out in a hot day in Chicago or wherever you are in the world, it gets you smelling pretty good. You can use it anywhere. It does not irritate my skin. So I really enjoyed using this product. And Mando actually has a special offer going on right now. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with my exclusive code DWCP, which you can use at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Use that code, guys. It's 40% off a starter pack with the $5 off. Again, shopmando.com. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe using Mando. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears discussion video, which I'll be doing throughout this entire offseason. My draft content will be starting up next week, most likely. The draft is only about a month away at this point, so expect a bunch of mock drafts, a bunch of prospect discussion videos, because draft season is in the thick of things right now, so be on the lookout for that. But before I start that up, I want to do one last free agency video, because free agency is basically over now. The Bears are probably going to sign a couple more players, like small contracts, maybe 1 year, 2-year deals at the very most. Well, at this point, it's probably only going to be 1-year deals. You know, we could sign maybe another safety, maybe another, you know, swing tackle, maybe something like that. But all the signings down the road are going to be very small signings regardless. So I thought this was the perfect time to do a grade video for Ryan Poles for this free agency period. And I'm going to be grading his moves based on 4 different factors. So it's going to be, number 1, production. Has this player been productive in the past already? Number 2 is going to be contract. Did we pay this player a contract that makes sense? Is it reasonable? Did we overpay? Did we get a bargain? That's going to factor into my grade. Number 3 is going to be talent level. Do I think this player is a very talented football player? And number 4 is going to be upside, okay? If they haven't produced yet that much, or even if they have produced, what is the upside for this player in 2025 and beyond for the length of their contract? And obviously, doing grades before the games begin is kind of stupid in some ways, because we're not going to know for sure until the games actually start. But the offseason is for discussion, so I think it's still worth it to discuss our thoughts before the games start, to see how our thoughts may change when the games do actually start. But without further ado, guys, let's begin. All right, the first player that we acquired was guard Jonah Jackson via the Los Angeles Rams. We traded for him. We traded a 6th-round pick in this year's draft, and I'm going to give this acquisition a solid B+. Okay, Jonah Jackson has been productive in the past. Like, he's had some pretty good seasons. He had a Pro Bowl season for the Detroit Lions. He's already worked under Ben Johnson, so I really like the familiarity, you know, getting a guard in a system that already knows Ben Johnson and his system and what he likes to run. And in terms of the contract, I think it's a pretty fair contract. You know, starting level guards get paid a lot of money in today's NFL. The elite guards get paid $20+ million per year. So if you look at Jonah Johnson's contract, I think it's relatively fair for being a average starter to above average starter at times. And of course, the hope is that he reaches his upside. I think his upside could be another Pro Bowl level season with the Chicago Bears working under Ben Johnson. When he's worked with other great offensive linemen around him, he's been pretty good. Now, last year with the Rams was a pretty bad year, but part of the reason was due to injuries, and part of the reason also was Sean McVay put him at center, which he's never played center before last year. And you know, he's mostly played left guard. So the fact that the Bears are moving him to right guard does worry me, maybe like a tiny amount, but it's still a much easier switch than playing center, which he played last year. So I think all in all, it was a worthy gamble. He's a good level starter when he is at his best and fully healthy. So I like the acquisition. There's a little bit of risk because he's coming off a bad injured season, but I think if he reaches potential, this could be a steal of a trade, by Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles also traded for another guard. He acquired Joe Thuney of the Chiefs for a 4th round pick in 2026, and I give this acquisition A+. Okay, this was a home run trade by Ryan Poles. Okay, I did not even think Joe Thuney could be available. He was the Chiefs' best offensive lineman last year. He's had so much elite level production in the NFL, multiple All-Pro seasons, multiple Pro Bowl seasons, multiple Super Bowls. So the fact that he does have that Super Bowl caliber experience does give me a great deal of confidence in the acquisition, because the mentorship and coaching he could provide to the other players on the Bears offensive line could be immense. I mean, the Bears have not really had that elite level older starter on the offensive line for young guys to learn from. Okay, it's been mostly learning from, our last offensive line coach, Chris Morgan, who was not even a good offensive line coach to begin with, right? So having an elite veteran like Joe Thuney that's done it at the highest level, that knows what it takes to be the best at his position, is going to be just so important for the other members of the offensive line. And if the Bears do draft a guard, which I do expect them to at some point, that guard could learn under Joe Thuney and, eventually take over when Thuney becomes too old. And he is 33 years old, so definitely getting up there in age, but interior offensive linemen can play well into their mid-40s and sometimes even upper 40s. So I expect him to be good for the Bears for still another 2-3 years. He's only under contract for 1 more year at $16 million for this year, but the Bears will extend him most likely. So in terms of contract, $16 million for this year is a steal for an elite level guard, and to only give up a 4th round pick, I thought was a home run by Ryan Poles. The Chicago Bears also signed tight end Durham Smythe to a 1-year, $2.5 million contract, and I'm going to give this signing a solid B. It's not a very flashy signing, it's just a depth signing, but I think he could be that backup complimentary tight end to Cole Kmet. He does have the frame, the length, the catch radius to be a pass catching tight end occasionally, but he's also been a fairly good blocker in the NFL too. His best season was with the Dolphins in 2023, 366 yards as a tight end too. And for a tight end too, that would be a fantastic season if he had those stats with the Chicago Bears. So I think the upside is relatively solid. He's not going to be elite, but for what we paid him, I think we got, a pretty solid deal. The Chicago Bears also signed center Drew Dalman to a 3-year contract worth $42 million with $28 million guaranteed. And I'm going to give this signing an A+. Okay, I wanted Drew Dalman badly on the Chicago Bears. I had the Bears signing him in my mock offseason video. He was by far the best center available in free agency. And the Bears, I've been begging for Ryan Poles for the Bears to go after that veteran top option at center in free agency. I was sick of going after cheap budget options or drafting guys in the 6th round like Doug Kramer. Like, these were not starting caliber level players, and for a young quarterback, you need that starting caliber center, especially an elite one like Drew Dalman. Okay, Drew Dalman was one of the best centers in football last year, and he's been getting better and better every single year. I think the upside is tremendously high with this dude. He's not reached his full potential yet as a pass protector, especially. He's been getting better and better as a pass protector. He's already elite as a run blocker, but I think with, even better coaching, playing next to an elite guard in Joe Thuney, he could be a Pro Bowl, potentially even all-pro player for the Chicago Bears. He's only 26 years old. He dealt with some injuries last year, but came back fully healthy and finished the season strong. So overall, just a solid move to help with the development of Caleb Williams and just add to that offensive line. I really love this move. On the defense, the Chicago Bears signed defensive end Dayo Odeyingbo from the Indianapolis Colts to a 3-year, $48 million contract with $32 million guaranteed. I'm going to give this move a C+. This was the only move, honestly, I was kind of down on in the beginning, and I'm still kind of questioning it to some extent because the Bears paid him a lot of money, okay? They paid him $16 million per year, and he's not had a crazy amount of production in the NFL so far. His best season came with the Colts in 2023. He had 8 sacks that season, pretty solid, but last year he only had 3 sacks. I know that sacks can be a luck-based stat to some extent. It kind of depends on the strength of the surrounding defensive line too sometimes, so I think the potential is super high with him. Like, he does have the length, the frame to be a top-level defensive end in the NFL. He just has not been that or close to that yet. So there's a lot of production involved here in this signing. And to pay him this much money, it makes me a little bit worried. Like, if any signing does flop from this free agency period, I think it's probably going to be this one. But I'm going to decide to trust Dennis Allen because clearly Dennis Allen wanted him. I mean, Dennis Allen played a big role in the Bears' defensive acquisitions this season, I'm sure. So if you trust Dennis Allen, then you can be optimistic about the signing, but I just don't think he's a high-level starter, and to pay him that much money is a little bit risky, but hopefully it works out for the Bears. Sticking on the defense, the Chicago Bears also signed defensive tackle Grady Jarrett from the Atlanta Falcons to a 3-year, $42.75 million contract with $27.25 million guaranteed. I'm going to give this move a good solid A. I think Grady Jarrett has been a phenomenal football player for the Falcons for basically a decade. I mean, he's been one of the most reliable, most consistent players for them, a force on the interior defensive line. So for the Bears to add more beef, more veteran experience, top-level veteran experience to their lines, to their trenches, I think matters just a great deal because the Bears last year got bullied in the trenches. So to have another guy in here that can rotate with Gervon Dexter, with Andrew Billings, and also provide guidance to a young guy like Gervon Dexter and perhaps another drafted player, I think is a tremendous signing by Ryan Poles. Okay, these older veteran signings, we didn't really do them until this year because before the Bears were still kind of rebuilding, but it seems like this year Ryan Poles is acquiring the more veteran proven players, and Grady Jarrett, as far as production goes, he's had so much production at the NFL level as a run stuffer in terms of pushing the pocket. He's been very, very good with the Falcons. He is getting older, so the age is a little bit of a concern if he does, potentially get injured. Hopefully that doesn't happen, knock on wood. But I think the Bears can keep him pretty fresh because we already have two pretty solid starters in Gervon Dexter and Andrew Billings. So again, that depth, with Grady Jarrett, which, by the way, I think Grady Jarrett is going to be the starter, obviously, because he does have the seniority over a guy like Gervon Dexter and has more production than Andrew Billings. Regardless, the fact that we have all three of them, I think it's going to be very good for the inside of the Bears defensive line. The Chicago Bears also signed receiver Olamide Zaccheaus from the Commanders to a 1-year deal. Not sure about the money yet. That's not been revealed to this point. But regardless, I'm going to give this signing a good solid A because the Bears needed a solid number 3 option in this receiving core. It did not have to be a superstar, and Olamide Zaccheaus is no superstar. Okay, he's a great complimentary piece. He had about 500 yards for the Commanders last year and also had 3 touchdowns too. So I think it's a good solid number 3 or number 4. He's not going to be a number 1, but this was exactly what the Bears needed. Okay, they needed a guy that could block, that could stretch the field, that could come up with some big time catches when Rome and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet are not being targeted, and I think Zaccheaus is going to thrive in that role. And finally, the Chicago Bears signed return specialist Devin Duvernay to a 1-year deal. Not sure about the money yet, but I'm going to give this acquisition a good solid A-. He's coming off a pretty rough season with the Jaguars, but he did get injured. But in the past, guys, he's been a Pro Bowl returner for the Baltimore Ravens. So if he can get back to that Pro Bowl level play, this would be a tremendous signing by Ryan Poles. And he very well could because he was a Pro Bowler back in 2022, only a couple seasons ago. So the speed is electric with this dude. As a return specialist, he could provide a lot of value. And even as a number 4, number 5 receiver, maybe he could provide the Bears with some production. He had 407 receiving yards in 2022 with the Baltimore Ravens, mostly stretching the field and getting some yards after the catch. So, I wouldn't count out Ben Johnson involving Devin Duvernay on some of these, crazy gadget plays he's going to be running with the Chicago Bears in 2025. So there you have it, guys. Those are all my grades for all the moves that Bears made in free agency this year. And as for my final composite grade for Ryan Poles for 2025 free agency, I'm going to give him a good solid A. Okay, it was a tremendous free agency by Ryan Poles. He addressed the exact positions I wanted him to address. He invested in big-time starters on both the offensive and defensive line. He filled in all 3 interior offensive line positions with players that have tremendous upside. He got an elite level guard in Joe Thuney, which I did not even know was possible. A very, very good center too in Drew Dalman and Jonah Jackson. Hopefully he can return back to Pro Bowl status. And for the defensive line, getting Grady Jarrett, also signing Dayo Odeyingbo, even though I'm not the highest on that move, at least he did something there. He did not just trot out Dominique Robinson or rely on a young Austin Booker to fill that role. He got a player that has the potential to be pretty good. And, to get some return specialists, in Devin Duvernay, to get a guy in Olamide Zaccheaus, to get that tight end too behind Cole Kmet, I think it was a very solid offseason so far by Ryan Poles. I know what people are going to say in the comments are going to be like, oh, the Bears win the offseason every single year and it never results in any victories. And yeah, you guys have a point to some extent, okay? Until we see these moves result in wins on the football field, we can't be too happy about them. But guys, I have not been this hyped up about a Ryan Poles free agency period ever in the past. Look, you can go back and watch my videos. Like, I liked some moves. Like, I liked the Kevin Byard signing last year. I liked the TJ Edwards signing a couple seasons ago. Like, he's done some good things, but for the most part, like, he still left Bears fans with some to be desired. Okay, we did not really go after the top level elite players on the marketplace any year really under Ryan Poles except for this year. Okay, he's definitely going all in on building a very good playoff level team for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Like, currently as constructed, the Bears could be a playoff team if all these players do live up to their potential. And I also think that all the moves he made in free agency really enabled him to pick best player available in the NFL draft. If he thinks the best player is Ashton Jeanty, he can definitely select Ashton Jeanty now at pick number 10 if he's even available there, because he invested so much in the trenches in free agency and via trades. And the Bears also have multiple round 2 picks. So if you still want to invest more in the trenches, you can with the other round 2 picks. But regardless, I'm happy he did all this work on the offensive and defensive lines, because I was tired and sick of seeing the Bears just get absolutely demolished, bullied in the trenches. And hopefully that's not going to be a problem going forward now for the Bears. So leave your thoughts down below, guys. What would you guys grade Ryan Poles free agency in 2025? I'll be back with more videos very, very soon. As always, bear down.